Good evening, everyone. County special meeting, Thursday, January 4th, 2024. Okay, roll call. Wait, would you start us off, please? Wait,
Gotta raise that voice.
Martha? Aaron Barber. Joe Pavlik. John Day.
David Morse.
Thank you. Here's we have a forum. I'd like to ask everybody that's on Zoom to please keep your microphone muted. Neighbor Alliance. Hello, Neighbor Alliance.
Hello?
Please mute your microphone. Leave it muted, please.
Use your microphone?
Mute.
Thank you. Oh, under the designation of alternates. Because we need two alternates, so it just so happens we have two alternates. See. And that being the place under the leaf. I believe it. Thank you.
In total, she gave you $1,000. At that time, when she took purchase. I'm talking about.
The chairs, of course, pretty simple. There's 75 days until spring. Like to wish everyone a happy new year. Looking forward to a lot of good work being done in this room. There's a good bunch of people here, so thank you all for coming. Are there any citizens' comments not pertaining to anything that's already on the agenda tonight? Hearing none. We have some meeting minutes to approve on December 7th. What's the will of the commission? I didn't get any of the packet. Well, I was the only one to go. It was doing a little further over here. Few of us could see it. Takes care of that. Still 6 minutes, we could move something in the business. Help and take care of that now. Anybody have any suggestions? I think that's good. Do that one. Oh, well, So we'll take up agenda item. Permit number SP 565-07-05M, Woodstock Academy, 169. This is a special permit modification of construction of full tennis courts to replace soccer fields at the Woodstock Academy South Campus. This requires a public hearing, so simply we have to set a public hearing date.
Hey, Jeff, this is Dave Morris. I'm gonna have to recuse myself from anything to do with this Woodstock Academy and stuff.
Thank you, David. Schedule that for February 15th. 7:45, Joe? I second that. Motion by Joe, seconded by Tim Young, I believe, to schedule a public hearing February 15th at 7:45 PM for the Woodstock Academy. Tennis courts. Is there any discussion?
Just a quick, do we have the applicant representative here?
We do actually.
So I just had a quick question. But we want to do that after.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? That so passes. Mr. Parent, can you hear me?
Yes.
Commissioner Adaletta has a question for you.
Sure.
And since you're not in the room, I was wondering, if you can comment on the overview map that submitted with the application. Perhaps I'm not seeing it. I couldn't identify the location of the tennis courts on some of the drawings relative to, the large athletic field and running track and the proposed, or the area with the proposed additional parking area. I was just trying to get an idea of where these different things are.
Yep, so the new tennis courts are proposed in the location of the existing soccer field that's immediately to the north of the gym and to the west of the track and multi-purpose field. Going to
Is
be,
there a drawing that shows that? Is there a drawing that shows that? Sorry, it's drawing shows the
I can provide a little bit more of an overview map of the whole campus and kind of point that stuff out.
would be helpful, at least to see, we talked about a couple of projects there, and I was just trying to just get a little better picture of where everything laid out. You know.
Yeah, Absolutely, I can pull that together.
So in the narrative, where it described the location, looking on the maps to actually see the courts and the track, the existing track, where the maybe the proposed parking lot expansion is going to be. Other than that, I know we have the public hearing scheduled.
Okay.
Question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Parent. 7:45, so without further ado. I'd like to continue the public hearing from November 16th. Permit number SP 660-10-23, Woodstock Sustainable Farms, Ken Rappaport. 211 Pulpit Rock Road, event and running facility promoting agritourism. And I will open it up to commissioners.
Can maybe DA clarify the note that was sent out? Is there an extension to the public hearing?
They requested an extension, is there 35th day, leaving December 21st?
Yes.
They need your extension for 30 days.
So this will continue, this public hearing will continue for another 30 days? Okay, thank you.
If, any of the feeling with the memo you sent out, for any of those questions answered.
With the applicant consent, we can.
Going to look forward to maybe more presentation by the applicant, with some more specific ideas about planned activities at the site, since that was part of the request from last time. So I'll hold any comments. That information.
And with that, I will open it up to the applicant, for the applicant's representative.
Yeah, a little bit. Go ahead. Sure, so, right, Ken Rappaport. The owner of Woodstock Sustainable Farms. I think, coming in last time, we probably were, I guess, had some misinformation. We actually had we were kind of going under the assumption to put everything in the kitchen sink in there. We had an events coordinator, and we kind of didn't understand that, those were a lot of aspirational issues and things that we're not going to do. And you had the right question. But again, we kind of came at it the wrong way, advice. But we've now switched around, and today we have very specifics of what we want to do. And I think Norm will get into it. I think I just want to start, I guess, for the record, to me, there's been some level of hysteria about what's going on, especially when there's anything wedding. And today we're going to talk about what it is. But I mean, just for the record, I think everyone understands that I'm very concerned about open space, keeping rural Woodstock. For those people who don't know, let's go back 20 years.
Mr. Rappaport.
Yep.
You speak up a little bit so the
Okay,
folks online can hear.
sure, okay, so,
And I'm right there with you. I think I'm speaking louder than I.
okay, not a problem. So just
Thank
for, for the, no problem. For the record, essentially, over the last 20 years ago, we essentially support, I think we stopped a couple developments that would have really changed the rural nature of Pulpit Rock. And essentially put it, the same people are kind of criticizing it. Wasn't necessarily NIMBY, there was development as well as there was a large vernal pool. And since that time, I probably invested over $1.5 million in the community, keeping these rural. And that was kind of the mission at that point. So that basically all those, a lot of people were behind what I was doing. I think we've done a nice thing at the time. I think people were accusing me of going to put a Dunkin' Donuts on Pulpit Rock. So you can see there's none there at this point. But at this point now, we've kind of moved to a different stage where we're really focused on regenerative agriculture, culinary arts, and nutritional science. And you'll hear today, I have some things for the record here that maybe everyone here would see what we're doing, and then we can get into the specifics. But really, it's about farming first, and we're doing livestock farming. And there's a very strong K through 12 educational component that goes along with this. And that's what I'm really excited about. So it kind of my second stage is one and we'll hand these things out. We're working closely with a group called Food is Medicine Institute, which is part of Tufts University, the Friedman School of Nutrition Science and Policy. And the idea that really strong, teaching kids, K through 12 and making them aware of what has to happen is going to be pertinent to us as a country, saving tons of money, becoming a healthier society. There's some numbers on the second page, and help.
Is that something that you can email me that I can put on the?
Sure.
You know what it was called? And you
Oh, no, I didn't. I can even see it. I'm learning the process here. My understanding is in some ways, the educational component wouldn't necessarily even need a special permit, but we wanted to, be cognizant of my neighbors in the town and of everything we were doing. So I think I think there's something else, but anyway, it's an important thing. I think this is, they call it, I guess, whatever title you use it, but really this is about supporting regenerative farming and really getting kids to understand really 4 pillars, which are soil, water, energy management, sustainability, food, where it comes from, how it's produced, how it's distributed as food as medicine. And you'll see some numbers. I think to 16.3 billion, they're saying 23.5 trillion could be saved, which we got a $47 trillion budget today. You could save 23.5 trillion by us eating it. Seems kind of weird, but it seems like unbelievable but they did more studies than they're seeing. And you have to start at a youth level. And most of the kids that come to see farm, we've already done some bus tours that have come up there, 40, 50 kids. 50% of the kids have never seen a layer. These are not like from, inner city. These are people within an hour from the farm. Less than, I probably 10% or less have ever seen a broiler, which is a meat bird. We did 8,000. They've probably 50% or less have never seen pigs or sheep that weren't talking on Disney. So we think it's an important aspect of trying to get at that level, them to understand that. And then they take this back to their schools, and we've talked to a wide range of schools in Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, that basically are super interested in what we're doing. And what we're developing is a hub and spoke model such that here's being a sample. Woodstock could be the epicenter of them coming here to see how it's done. I've invested probably $3 to $4 million of my own money to create this, which is a hub that has all the equipment. And then we have spoke farms. And the spoke farms the hub does everything. Provides the animals, provides the equipment, provides everything for nascent farmers to create over 200 farms in New England. So they'll be bridged out. Originally, it'll be a wide wheel, and then the idea is to bring it back to a small wheel eventually. So you have 10 small wheels in New England. Each of those small farms would grow either chicken or sheep or pigs. And they've got to get permission because some towns, a lot of towns in New England today, since we haven't had farming here since 1860, won't allow pigs, won't allow sheep. So what we have to do is do it here, show what 20 pigs are on a 2-acre lot, and realize that people go out and say, hey, it doesn't smell, it's not horrible. It's like people don't even know it's there. But what we're doing is doing lots of small little places, which are really applicable to the way New England has broken up all its fields. We no longer have big fields anymore. We don't have grain next to it nearby. So there's a higher cost to all this. But the idea is really to push it out so they have experiential learning and they take it back. And I think the 4th pillar out of the food is medicine is animal science. It's why kids behave the way they do. And you just have to look at sheep and chickens and pigs and realize chickens are brutal to each other. And then take those kids, go back and say some of our nature, we might not like it, is developed from these animals. And how can we be better because we have bigger brains? I think just tonight there was another shooting, right? I mean, so no one's really come up with solutions other than more guns or more, protection to go against things. But that's not the solution. The solution is get the kids to understand that they're part of the larger ecosystem. And that's kind of what we're doing. So these events are really all promoting. There's a portion of weddings that we talked about we had a prior, events coordinator who was pushing me big on that. I think what you'll see tonight, we have 4 open slots potentially to do some level of weddings, but even the weddings, from our standpoint, there are people that are interested in regenerative farming. There are going to people that want to have pasture-raised chicken, and really delve into the idea that they're getting married, but they're also in a way helping the earth and helping, because this regenerative agriculture is all about, carbon capture out of the air and helping defeat global warming. So I think it's a really cool thing that we're doing here. And I can understand people's concern about it, and you'll hear tonight how we've addressed those, made some events smaller, shut it down to, again, what we said last time was aspirational, like we threw everything in the kitchen sink. We were kind of told that was what to do. That really wasn't. So tonight you'll hear exactly what we're looking to do. And we think it's very reasonable. We're hoping you can support us, because we would like to, people are already talking about running some of these events, and I gotta start planning. We're in January, I'm buying my chickens, I'm buying my pigs, I'm buying, we're doing this, breeding the sheep. So we need to do this, and we need to roll out these spokes, because our hope this year is to have 20 spoke farms around us. And at the same time, we're actually, because it's so labor intensive, we're talking to a nonprofit that we're looking at using military veterans, who will then be working with animals, be working, in a rural environment to help heal themselves, particularly, ones that may have PTSD and other symptoms. Again, really trying to do some big things here. And but we want to be cognizant of what the community is concerned about, and I'm concerned about that. 20 years history or more here. 28 years here now in Woodstock. I grew up in a rural town, very similar, actually more than. So anyway, that's, I think from my standpoint, going to set the stage, and then the engineer can get into the detail.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. For the record, Norm Tebow, Killingly Engineering Associates. I'm here representing Mr. Rappaport and Woodstock Sustainable Farms as Luna Foods. At the conclusion of the last meeting, I think there were essentially 3 main items of concern that I took out of it. Number one, from the commission standpoint, really wanted us to sort of nail down the types of events, number of events that could be held on an annual basis. Numbers of events, maximum attendees at these types of events, and so forth. So I've got a little bit, just a quick write-up. I have a copy I'll distribute to everyone, but I'll also sort of go through it for the record, so that the folks who are here tonight can hear what we have to say about this.
Yeah, you find to distribute, I've got some extra copies here for that. Whoa. Scott, did we distribute or I've got extra copies of what I just handed out to you guys. Yeah.
Sure. In the future, though, you can email it to me.
I've got some additional copies here that folks can share if they like.
Hands on.
All right, so Ken and I have had numerous discussions since the termination of the last meeting to talk about what types of events are actually important to him, and the things that really don't make a lot of sense. I know we talked about stargazing and possibly some overnight stays, things of that nature. That, and like Ken said, his former director coordinator had a lot of really great ideas of what she thought might want to do out here. And since then, she has actually not working for Mr. Rappaport anymore, and he sort of really pared it down to the types of things that he'd like to do. So essentially what he's looking to do, up to 12 events a year, up to 75 persons. Another 12 events a year that would be up to 35, and those are essentially indoor events. Most of those things like art dinners and so forth. and then 24 student bus tours. That's just a single bus coming to the farm. And as Ken discussed earlier, just educating children ages kindergarten to 12 years old about Azalea Farm, the Woodstock Sustainable Farms, and actually regenerative agriculture that they're promoting. On here, he has currently planned events for 2024, and I'd like to just clarify that because there's nothing actually scheduled at this point, but these are inquiries that he has received for certain things to do at the farm. Johnson and Wales University College of Food, Innovation and Technology, Tufts University Friedman School of Nutrition, Science and Policy, Food is Medicine Institute, Tufts University, the Last Green Valley National Heritage Corridor, Wyndham Land Trust, Mission Readiness, Council for a Strong America, and two separate requests for political celebrity events supporting regenerative agriculture. Now, these are fundraiser events, and the intention of these for up to 75 people would be to provide the tent that we discussed last time, and these tents would be erected on an as needed basis. They'd be just assembled per event, and any kind of building permits or use any permissions that would be required at the town certainly would be obtained for that. So that's a total of 8 events right there, and we're saying that he would like to do a maximum of 12. So that really leaves only 4 remaining spots for potential weddings. Once again, these weddings would be no more than 75 people. They would promote the whole nutritional science and regenerative agricultural type of the business, promoting the types of foods that they serve and they provide. The accommodations as necessary will be coordinated with the Woodstock Inn, and scheduling will attempt to fill off-peak and off-season room availability. All music will cease by 11 p.m. at the latest. All events featuring food and drinks will be provided by professionally managed caterers, licensed and insured with tips certified servers. Any required tents will be erected on a per event basis by a licensed contracting company after securing the proper town of Woodstock permits and inspections. We have updated our website to provide perfections via Meehan Road, which minimizes the traffic on the dirt road, less than 0.2 of a mile, and limits the impact to any neighbor's egress routes. A Woodstock constable will be hired at the start of events for 2 hours to monitor traffic at Taylor's Corner until the state DOT posts no left-hand turns on Route 171. Senator Jeff Gordon and Representative Pat Boyd have been contacted to help accelerate the Connecticut DOT action on this important safety initiative, which is long overdue. The 2 of the other items I think were of concern. Certainly mentioned by the commission, but I think the public in general, number one being traffic. Obviously, traffic on Pulpit Rock Road is a narrow road, a town scenic road, and with widths as narrow as 16 feet in some spots, which makes it difficult for two-way traffic in those particular areas. This section is only about 0.2 miles, a little less than 0.2 miles that you would actually utilize to get to the facility. And for a 75-person event, typically you would assume 2 to 3 persons per car to average. So if you take the 2.5, that would be 30 cars for a maximized event for a 75-person event, which I don't believe is and that would be distributed over about an hour as the event sort of winds up. Typically, people, they may have a little bit of a cocktail hour beforehand, before the ceremony, where people sort of arrive during that first hour. It's not like you've got 30 cars all of a sudden on Pulpit Rock Road and blocking things up. these, like I said, these 30 cars typically arrive in a staggered fashion over an hour. Leaving would be even a little more disruptive or a little less intensive because I'm sure, as all of you know, if you go to the weddings, you have the ceremony and then the dinner, and then things like cutting of the cake and the first dances and so forth. And a lot of times after that, it's when a lot of the older people at the wedding, they leave and they don't want to stay until 11 p.m. at night. And so it's really a staggered egress from the site as the wedding winds on through the evening. So, you know, in my opinion, you know, a 30 cars on Pulpit Road distributed over an hour period is not going to cause any undue hazard to the road. In general, I think, you know, it is a posted 15-mile-an-hour speed limit, and people who don't know the road I doubt very much they're going to be going more quickly than that. You know, from what I've seen, when I go to Ken's, because I don't know the road that well, I've been there about a half a dozen times, and I certainly take my time on that road. But I've noticed a couple of times when I've encountered the people who do know the road, they travel a little bit faster. Not that they're driving 40 miles an hour or anything like that, but they certainly go faster than I do. And I think that would be the case for people who are coming to these events and not knowing the road very well. And also with the instruction that they will be given upon booking these events, the direction of that Ken puts on the website, I think that would also help immensely with how cautious people are as they approach the farm. So the other thing I think you know, people are concerned about noise, and the facility itself, or the area where they would have the weddings, the tent, is approximately 270 feet from the nearest property line and about 730 feet from the nearest residence. The western, no, the eastern property line of Mr. Rappaport property, that 270 feet, approximately 110 feet of that is field, and 160 feet is very heavily wooded. And it's also very steeply sloped. So just by fact of the slopes and the trees, there's a lot of natural attenuation, but also by the distance itself, you are going to have a very large reduction in the amount of, you know, in the sound as you approach the property line. The town of Woodstock does not have a noise ordinance. So in the case where you do not have a noise ordinance, what we do is we revert back to the state noise ordinance, which in the general statutes is inclusive sections of 22A-69-1 to 22A-69-7.4. Julie, did you receive the chart I sent you this afternoon? If you could put that up, I will try to explain it. But essentially, noise reduction is not something that's linear. It's logarithmic in nature, and you know, putting it mathematically, it's an inverse square of distance versus the sound. And what you do is you take the decibel level at the noise source, and as you head out from the noise source, every time you double the distance. So say, for instance, there's a band playing, I'm 10 feet in front of the band, and it's 100 decibels. If I go 20 feet away from that, it's going to be down to approximately 94 decibels. If I go 40 feet away, it's going to drop yet another 6 decibels. So every time you double the distance away, it drops approximately 6 decibels. The chart that you have there up on the screen tells you what noise levels are, with 40 decibels being raindrop in a quiet room. Normal conversations about 60 decibels, busy city traffic and a vacuum cleaner 85, hair dryer, lawnmower 90, rock concerts and a helicopter 105. So I chose 100 to do my analysis from, because we're certainly not a rock concert, but potentially if there's a DJ in a tent, they may be louder than a hair dryer or about the same as a lawnmower. But I think from for a conservative approach to this, I believe this is the best way. The 100 decibels, I think, is a fair assessment. Anything above that, obviously, we're not chainsaws or iPods at peak volumes or jackhammers or car horns or gunshots or anything like that. Those go up into levels that we don't see at these types of events. I had another chart as well, Delia. If you don't have that, I do have a flash drive. No, it's actually a chart.
I think those are going.
Okay. You could take this. I got a graphical representation of the noise attenuation from the site. It did go up. I think down a little bit further, there was the thing that said flash drive. Yeah, so the one that says noise. Thank you. Nope, okay. Next. Go to acoustic barrier calculator. Thank you. All right, so what you've got here you can just pan down a little bit. All right, so what you've got on the left-hand side is what you've got the sound source. I gave that a value of an elevation of 1.5 meters, which is about ear level. So, and I also chose what's called a multi-spectrum, and that takes all the frequencies in hertz from 63 to 8,000 hertz, which is essentially the whole spectrum of human hearing. And you analyze that, and then what I did is at that 49 meters or so, I set up a barrier, and that barrier that I set up is the tree line. And then I assumed that you've got the additional 33 meters of trees again. 50 meters is about 50 feet of the tree heights. The tree heights are pretty much substantially higher than that there, but I think from a conservative nature. And what that does is at the far end of that chart, all right, we started with a decibel level of the total sound level when you add up all the frequencies together of 109 decibels, with between the grassed surface of the field, the tree barriers, the distance at the property line, that resulting sound pressure will be at 35.3 decibels. Now, the state sound ordinance for daytime sound for residential properties is 55 decibels during the day, 45 decibels at night at the property boundary. It's not at the nearest residence or anything like that. The nearest residence to here, like I said, is about 730 feet away or so. So at the property boundary, based upon this computation, we have a resulting sound pressure of 35.3 decibels, which is below the regulatory criteria put out by the state of Connecticut. So with that in mind, it is my opinion that any sound that emanates from any kind of event that we have here will not impact the neighborhood, and it will meet the sound levels. One of the other things that we didn't take into account here too, if this is in a tent with closed sides, you're going to have some additional attenuation by virtue of the tent being enclosed. So I assume that we don't have that, that particular situation. No. So I think, between what, Ken put forth and these few items that I've discussed, I'd be happy to answer, any further questions you have at this point. Thank you.
Could you go through the questions that were in my memo?
Okay, please provide details to the proposed events, including number of events, the proposed cap and the number of attendees. I think I did go through that. Okay. Agriculture is a permitted use, therefore the special permit is not about the agricultural activities that are taking place. Understood. I think Mr. Rappaport mentioned that. Talked about camping, that's off the table. All right, we have no table. Has the proposal received NDDH approval for the events business if required, as well as for the campsites? No NDDH approval. They're gonna have porta pots for any of these events. Without impacting the septic system. We're not putting up any structures, and B100 is not required by health code. And the same thing here, campgrounds regulated by NDDH or Connecticut DEP. We are not proposing any campgrounds. Traffic related concerns, all the roads leading to the property are town-owned public roads, therefore they are not limited who can traverse them. However, sufficient detail should be provided to the PCZ to review regarding the regulation standards. Yeah. This is from the Azaluna Farms website. It actually gives basically a method to get to the town, the preferred route of traverse to get there.
Norm, can I just make a quick comment on that?
Absolutely.
What we did is we specified on here, no entry on both sides of Pulpit Rock Road and dirt side. Certainly, the side with Taylor Corner, we're saying don't enter. Okay, there's no physical don't enter sign. And then we put a don't enter on the sign, on the side of coming in off of Old Hall. So, you know, the goal is to really keep them on the macadam. You'll see on here, obviously, a lot of warnings and everything else. And I will say Senator Jeff Gordon sends his regards, and I talked to him, and he is going to work with the DOT with Pat Boyd to get probably, they tried to make it into a, as he explained to me, the DOT wanted to make some massive big issue over there. And he agreed with me that if you just said a sign that said, don't make a left-hand turn when you're eastbound on 171, you're going to eliminate all the issues and a lot of the problems that, you know, that their accidents have been there. And certainly until that time comes, I'm willing to have a constable, as I had our first selectman did that for years when I had private parties up there. I'd place them down there just because I did not want to have my party ruined by somebody coming, dying. It's a kind of room, it's a killjoy thing. Yeah.
Okay, there was a concern about potential traffic generated by the proposed events. There was an unspecific mention of having constables. I think we did review that. That is going to be at traffic at Taylor's Corner would be the constables. He would be there for the 2-hour duration, hour before and an hour after the start of the events. That's
what in Taylor's Corner is the very sharp turn, 171 on the west side of Pulpit Rock, where with the last accident, I think was 6 or 7 motorcyclists got nailed. They did put some, I guess, noise barriers in, or noise if someone goes around too far in the turn. But the issue there is really, one on the website, not there, but the issue is making that turn. Been here 28 years, to make that turn, you have to go around the turn to see if anybody's coming, unless it's at night. Then the trouble is, if a car is coming and you go around the turn, anybody behind you coming at 50 miles an hour is going to slam into you. So if you're going to go and make the turn after going around there, you know, my rule, my kids would take 1, 2, maybe 3, and go. And then you could just go around the main road and come another way. So, but there are people who have come and just, I asked them how they crossed the road. And they said, well, I just went, which is a recipe for somebody dying.
Right,
If I could just make a point about that.
Yep.
That's an existing condition on the road that's unrelated to your application. It's a existing condition that you posing they do something about, but that's been happening prior to your application.
No, absolutely,
Correct,
Richard,
correct.
just being on the cautious
so
side.
it is unrelated to the application, but, you know, it's something we can be proactive about to try and resolve. Because there have been issues there in the past, and if there are any incidences with people coming to the facility that have the propensity to make that turn, you know, perhaps between signage and a constable and posting on the website, we can discourage them from doing that and avoid some potential issues there.
And minimize also the impact of neighbors, at least on the dirt road. So there's very few driveways that we're crossing on Pulpit Rock itself. We hope to keep everybody off of the east side of Pulpit Rock on the dirt side, so there's no reason for them to go. We do need to probably talk to you, see there, some people go down to Devon's Farm, or what was Devon Farm and now, which is Treehouse Brewery. It's labeled wrong for Google. So, you know, we'll try to get that resolved. That's another thing that we don't control. And then on the other side, if they don't come in, you're only going, what, 0.2 a mile on a small, on the dirt road. So it's very minimal. Certainly, you know, and we asked them to go 10 miles an hour or less. And most of the people that come up make comments about they're terrified driving the road. They go slow, and that's perfect. That's what you want. And there's plenty of room there actually down that area to go on both sides. It does wash out occasionally, but nothing like what was proposed years ago with the Douglas proposal that there was a steep rise, and that always gets washed out. You're familiar with the road.
Right, how many constables per event? It would be one constable, the duration, as Mr. Rappaport said, 2 hours. Our concerns regarding event generated traffic on local neighborhood roads. There was an unspecific mention of applicant guiding guests to use it as a preferred route to the site. As Mr. Rappaport said, it is something that will be posted on the website. People who actually book an event at that facility too, will be given a literature as to the preferred route of travel, how to get there as well. And I think with these, if these events are maximized at 75, and I know we were with much greater numbers before, but if we make that cutoff at 75, I think it reduces the propensity for people to do that even greater. And once again, there's another comment on the preferred route. What are the measures to be taken? We talked about that. There are concerns about guests leaving the site having consumed alcohol. You know, as with any event, I think, you know, not just this event, I think, you know, any event at all, you know, people leaving a restaurant or a nightclub or a wedding, anything, you know, obviously, I think, you know, people, I believe are a lot more conscious these days of the impacts of drunk driving. You know, certainly you do have incidents that you see happen, but, you know, I know for the most part, I mean, I have 3 kids from 21 to 26 years old. And it has been stressed to them since they were, you know, I know they were in high school, you know, they're 17, 18 years old, and I know they're going out drinking beers when they were kids. And, you know, you know, kids do that. And, you know, we've always stressed to them, you know, make sure you have a designated driver, make sure you call someone, do not drive. You know, hopefully, you know, that mantra can be discussed at a wedding itself. You know, whether it's an Uber driver or getting a ride from another guest, or just even monitoring the alcohol consumption at the wedding itself.
Yeah, no, just to clarify, TIPS is a license that people have to go through to get trained so they can identify anybody drinking too much. So Sid over there is looking a little shaky. I say, no, Sid, you can't have them. And so that the liability is on them, they're responsible. And most of these events, charity events, you know, maybe they're gonna get one drink, a glass of wine or two. It's certainly not, you know, let's rock and roll and party, you know, for the Women Land Trust.
Yeah.
Medicine Institute.
Yeah, and I can say, you know, having been to probably 3 or 4 weddings in the last year or so. I know most weddings will not let people do shots anymore. You got the younger people going up to the bar saying, "I'll take a shot," and they say, "No, you can't have a shot. No, you can have a mixed drink or a beer or a glass of wine." And that's the kind of stuff I think that kind of puts people over the edge. And as Ken said, these charity events, they're not the types of events that people are going to be prone to bailing up to the bar and hanging out there all night and drinking. You know, these are more of a social fundraising event, and you know, hopefully, you know, things can be kept in check at these type of events. As Ken said, who's in charge of serving the alcohol? It will be the caterers. They have these licensed caterers that also hold the alcohol license that come in. They bring the alcohol. They're responsible for making sure that you know, it is served properly and that it is monitored properly. I think that was it.
In the first comment, on the first page about the butters, Kristen did provide, they did from the, those, the 3 butters that are left out.
With that, I'll open up the commissioner.
I was going through the list that, did you get a traffic report? I thought that was one of your questions. Provided the traffic, please provide the required traffic.
Quite a lot of information about traffic, but
Yeah, I don't have anything written. I made the presentation this evening was based upon that. I would certainly be happy to provide, you know, a written report, you know, that summarizes what I discussed this evening.
Well, I think in the spirit of at least providing a report.
Mhm.
Be appropriate for the application. Particularly given where this is located. I know there are things you can't control, and I want to comment that there's been a lot of review and more specificity on this application. The elimination of planting. The approach, being more specific about the number of events, including the limited number of wedding celebrations being planned. Appreciated steps in trying to make this more workable. The written directions for getting to Woodstock Sustainable Farms to Main Road is also a nice effort done. Just a quick Google navigation and beyond your control about what Google or any maps navigation system would provide drivers. Looks like it would be most likely coming from Polar Rock Road from the other end, so it's avoiding Main Road. So my feeling is most guests would use the navigation system, printing out and following. This presentation you provided tonight, and I think you meant putting do not enter sign something at Polar Rock.
No, do not enter signs on this.
Just on the map.
Just on the map.
Just on the map.
The map,
All right.
and I might even put another one so they don't even take a
Got it.
right going on the way out.
Okay.
And I think with 75 people, we're trying to, I guess I think that the people that are coming here are going to be cognizant we're going to enforce what it is, because again, they're coming because they're concerned about the earth, concerned about the soil, concerned about livestock and animals. So, you know, I think there's terms that people call it woke people, right? So the idea is they're actually overly cautious. And I think if anything, what we're doing here is important. So they're going to take care coming in and understand what, even though we're going to be selective, and that's why we no longer have the same events coordinator, but in the wedding, we're going to be selective for what we do. We may not do it. But you know, obviously, we need some flexibility in there. And there's people that don't want to do it. We still, as a farmer, we still want to help pay the bills, and there's things that, you know, every farm does a little bit here and but, you know, they'll be, very subdued, not wild. Again, not big parties. I think it was what had been anticipated before was something much larger. I was never, I think, coming in here when Jeff Gordon was in here, if you were here, I was not thrilled about doing anyway. But I was convinced, you know, if you're gonna get an event coordinator, you're gonna get somebody to do it other than me, you gotta have a way to pay them. That pays their bills. So it's just realistic, you know, balancing the budget, just like a town does, just like a farm does. Gotta balance the budget.
I'd just like to point out that the sign regulations allow for off-site directional signs. So the applicant may consider putting up the sign as a last section, to direct people to the. To get there. Also, sign exemptions, the temporary and portable signs represent the need to have a permit, but maybe if they have a sign, you know, place, a safe place to direct people.
Sure. There you go.
So you're thinking something more like in the spirit of like a campaign sign or something like that, something you could stick in the ground at a certain location on the day of the event. That could be removed.
On, maybe on the, for me and Ron, about turn on there.
Mhm.
Yeah, we could put a sign right on Pulpit Rock on both ends to stay not in it. I mean, I did talk to this first selectman Swan years ago, saying that he said he couldn't do anything about Route 171 State Road, but there was no reason the town couldn't put a no entry sign on the west side of Pulpit Rock.
Thinking more along the lines.
I understand.
Please check the regulations, the offsite direction.
So what's the difference?
Direction. Permanent, then direct someone to.
Yeah, we're not talking. I was just suggesting there was a good solution before someone just got killed. The locals would still probably ignore it. No one would care because they know what they're doing. But the foreigners, the people who don't live in town, would see a big sign that said "do not enter," and they wouldn't enter. But that's a whole nother, that's a plan for another day.
Any other comments or questions from Commissioner? So I have a couple questions. First one related to alcohol. Will there be open bars at the wedding, at any wedding?
Good question.
Will there be an open bar, meaning where it's paid for by
Whoever's having the wedding, and the attendees can just go up and get as much alcohol as they want.
Well, first off, if you're being served by a tip certified server, they're not gonna they're not supposed to do it. So I guess from a legal standpoint, even whether it's open bar, they're paying themselves, or whether they're being treated by the bride's parents, I guess is the way maybe still it works, but it's by being treated. I don't know if I could necessarily say absolutely not, because someone's gonna say, look, I want to just treat Sid to a drink. Sorry, I'm picking you, Sid here, but you know, I want to,
Yeah.
you know, but tips is not gonna make a difference if who's paying. Well, if Sid's paying, if he comes up, maybe there's more chance if Sid pays and gives me a $50, maybe I'll slip him a shot. But I wouldn't do it, I'm saying, but you might have, you know, whereas if it gets paid by, if I'm being paid by Mr. Young over there and he's the father of the bride, I'm not gonna do anything. So I don't know, there's a mixed feeling on how that goes. I couldn't say it this time.
Okay, thank you. The rest of my questions are gonna be related to noise. I'm actually an acoustical consultant. So I'm a little concerned about the music that will be, you know, happening at some of these events. In the document you gave us today, you said that all music will cease by 11 p.m. Is that for any night, or is that just like Friday or Saturday night?
Any night.
Okay. That seems a little late. It gets very quiet around here, as you know, you live around here, I'm sure, it gets quiet. I'm fairly certain with a high probability that some of the neighbors at their residences will hear music from your events. The barrier calculation that you had up earlier, looks like you assume two solid barriers for your attenuation loss through the forest. Which isn't really the correct way to do it. I mean, I just did an off the cuff calculation here. At 270 feet, which is from, let's say, the wedding tent to the property line, the attenuation for that distance, just the distance spreading, is about 46 dBA. If you have 100 linear feet of dense forest, it might give you like 3 dB of attenuation. So if you have 109 dBA your source, you have 46 reduction for the distance and 3 for forest, that gives you 49. 109 minus 49 is 60. Okay. You're probably at 60 at your property.
All right.
Over the daytime limit and over the nighttime limit for the state regulations.
Does that impact, or is that, can I ask a question, because I'm not a sound expert? And we did, since my wife died 23 years ago, 24 at this time, had plenty of events up there, bands and played loud, and I could say, for the record, we never had a single complaint. And none of my neighbors were complaining about, they were complaining more about the livestock dogs, but fortunately, when they're up at the house, no one's actually complaining about them, trying now to have them up at the house rather than in the fields where they were in the past over the winter, because they will bark because there's predators out there, especially this time of year, and they're kind of loud. I don't know what is a dog barking for? But anyway, it seems to me, what about the elevation drop? Because we're at 800 feet at the top. You've got this dense mass of the woods and all kinds of stuff. I understand sound tends to go up. I hear the roadways from where I am. I hear noise from Woodstock Inn when they got bands playing down there. But my understanding is that noise tends to migrate up than it does necessarily down. So at the level, when you're down at the line, it's 640 feet at the base of the hill. So is that something you took into your calculations tonight, or you're doing, or are you doing just a linear plane?
I'm just doing a linear.
Okay.
Would you state your qualifications?
Yeah, I've been an acoustical consultant for about 20 years now. I work at a firm based out of Sudbury, Massachusetts. Yeah, I've been working for, doing environmental sound, which is, noise propagation outdoors for any type of noise source, HVAC equipment. We've worked on wedding events. I worked on one recently where there's a neighbor who's over 1,000 feet away and he's complaining because he can hear it. And again, it's because, as you stated, the guy's house is above the weddings and he hears it because the sound goes up. But yeah, so I'm very familiar with the, environmental propagation spreading, which is why I just did a quick calculation to see, but yeah, I would have to do, or somebody else would have to do a more thorough calculation, including the topography, to see what the level actually is, because you probably will get more attenuation because it's a lower level or lower elevation
At the line. So what you're saying for the record is that your person is elevated. So the event is below and the neighbor is above and noise propagates up, whereas we're talking, but I'm just saying, am I correct that, unless I heard something incorrectly, you just said that they're higher, it's a long distance away, but they're higher than the event. I just want to be clear. I don't know anything about this.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm talking about 800 feet. I'm down to 640 feet. That's almost a drop. 800.
Yeah, we can certainly, I could certainly, take a second look at that and take those other factors into account. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that'd be good, because it seems to me that based on my experience with similar kind of events, I believe that some of the neighbors could possibly hear some of the noise. Especially when it gets to be late at night, 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. The background sound level around here is probably gonna drop to like 30 dBA.
Yeah.
So if it's like 35 or 40 at the neighbors' houses, they're gonna hear it. That's another issue. Just because you meet the state regulations doesn't necessarily mean that nobody's gonna hear it, because we happen to be in a quiet area where the state regulation probably is a little higher at night than it otherwise would be for other areas, because there's more noise there.
So
But without any stated criteria in the regulation, what is that? I mean, does it have to be, do you meet the state criteria, or do you have to, or does someone, if someone's 700 feet away, hears some faint music, is that a problem because they just happen to hear it? There's nothing in the town's regulations that prohibits that.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, it'd be nice to get some additional information or a better calculation on,
Okay,
you know, the sound levels at the property line and at the nearest house.
sure.
Thank you.
Getting back to the specific. These 24 bus tours, do those people come and go in the same day?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The 1275 person events. Do those people come and go in the same day?
Yes, sir.
Nobody stays over.
No one's staying, at this point, no one's staying, but I think, we have a B and B that's been up there, but it's got very limited rooms, it's got 2 rooms. So, do people stay over at the house other than? or
That's
they-
him?
Okay, and then the same thing with the 12 events with 35 people. They come and go the same day.
That's correct.
Okay. All right, that's my question.
Down there. Since a lot of this seems to fall in the realm of the unknowable and unmeasurable, would you consider coming back with a smaller proposal, maybe a more modest proposal of several events per year, and if it works out, then come back with a larger, more ambitious proposal? I mean, it seems like there's so many things here that are unknowable.
Actually, respectfully disagree. I think I've had a lot of parties up there, and I don't think anyone has ever complained. I think the dogs that are out there may be complaining. I've heard it. Maybe they're tired of talking to me. But I need those. We're not losing livestock, and we've tried to minimize what we've done. We actually looking at putting a pasture protection perimeter system in. It would light up to protect or light up at a sound of a dog barking, and not so much to protect the dog or the livestock, but to be, cognizant of my neighbors, so the light will come on, the dog will be quiet. So, but what we have and I'm understanding you're a doctor.
Yep.
So there's a feeling right now that post-COVID, there's an opportunity to start to change things. A lot of movement going on. We're working with a group that's trying to bring nutritional education to the largest Hispanic community of Elizabeth, New Jersey. And we might even try using a hub and spoke model down there to basically try to, at this time, given that, you've got this new and people got massively, I guess it's J1 or 1JN or something that's going on. I'm drinking bone broth, which raises the immune system of humans naturally, it's an opportunity. And I'm getting a lot of demand for what we're doing. It's not all about making money. We're trying to take an opportunity to change. To be honest with you, I don't always know that I should be doing this, but it seems to make sense to me to do something.
Yep.
Because a lot of people think nothing can be done. So we can either watch kids get shot in rooms and do nothing about it.
Yep.
Or we can continue to see people overweight, and you can be skinny and still be skinny fat and have metabolic diseases. I think it's cancer and it's heart disease. It's, you could know better than me that, diabetes, and it goes 75% of the people in this country are walking around with inflamed bodies. And there was a group that we wanted to do mission readiness wants to come out here. Counts First on America. It's made of 500 to 1,000 animals. And they're now panicked because over 75% of the people who apply to be in the military get washed out because they can't get in. So we're not ready. If we have a war, and unfortunately, you got 2 hot wars, Ukraine and over in Gaza. You got something from China. We're not going to have people to be able to do it. We'll be like the Ukraine, a bunch of people in this room who are over 45 years old will be out there carrying guns around and we'll be fighting because, but the reality is that there's a demand here, and I'd like to slow down, but demand right is now. So I'm trying to, what I'm asking for, and I think we've even talked to conditional, if this is out of control, the hysteria, there'll be hundreds of drunken people riding around on the roads and whooping it up like Mardi Gras. It's just not realistic. But I think what the number of events I'm looking at, the 12 events of 35, you're not even going to know. You could have been having those go on right now. I don't even necessarily have to ask permission. I'm just thinking, I'm trying to be cognizant in that we want people to donate to it, to basically, put some skin in the game. And we might have people like Arnold Schwarzenegger or Senator Cory Booker, certainly that could be coming up here. Jose Andres, the chef who's, he leads the council, the White House Council on Hunger, Nutrition, and Health could potentially come out here to Johnson and Wales, along with Elena Deldani, who is a star WBA basketball player. So these are the kind of things we're doing. And I guess I could wait. We could wait, it's like waiting for global warming. And I think, one of the things that if you use regenerative farming and everybody did cover crops out in the West, you'd see a potential reduction in the amount of carbon. It's just, it's a common thing. So yes, I feel an urgency to do something now. I toned it down to what I saw. I wasn't really that involved with it. We kind of let her run and we came up with these kind of massive things. And again, we were misdirected. I was misdirected. So what we took it down is what I need. I need 1275 person events. Somebody said, well, don't do any weddings. I got 4 open spaces. I told you when I first came in here, I'd prefer not to do any weddings. I'm not exactly a personal person who wants to deal with mothers of the bride or anything else. I just left it open. I need some flexibility to make the numbers work. I've been, told that, farming, you should be able, if you can't farm, just, find something else, go do something else. But all farms struggle. The grain has gone up to 2 or 3 times. There's no grain fields here. Processing, I have to drive all the way to Augusta, Maine to process my chickens, what are called air chilled rather than, basking them in water. Okay, 4.5 hours. I'm paying double the prices of grain. The key, the only reason we're doing this is to do the hub and spoke to be able to educate the kids on the spoke level to get them to understand and walk back in the room and be able to say, hey, what's going on? And the teachers can then take it into the curriculum to help make a stronger democracy, a stronger community. We're actually looking at places where it was in Somerville, Mass, wanted me to have a spoke farm up there because I provide all the equipment. Again, $3 to $4 million worth of equipment. We give them the chickens, we give them the equipment, and they're talking about one family. It's a 9-week slow growth bird that 2 or 3 families would care for the chickens for 1 week. The next 2 or 3 families would care for the chickens the next week. They would all do that. Then we would come up with our military veterans. We would come collect the chickens, transport them up to Augusta, Maine, process them, and then bring them back. If the community wanted to buy them back, now they're actually working as a community, as a team. And, hey, Dad, I don't want to go out today. It's too hot. It's raining. And it actually expands education from spring through summer into the fall because we're not doing this during the winter. So what happens is there's a big complaint in schools that they lose all this effort between when they leave in the spring and then come back in the fall. Here they could do, they could go out, they could care for chickens, they'd be part of the community. I don't want to go out. Well, I'm letting Sid's, the Blodgett family down. So everyone goes out and does this. The chickens come back and the taste and the value, higher omega-3s, higher omega-6s, it's healthier for us. We don't need to eat big portions. Food is medicine. We can save ourselves by eating right. And we don't need going to CVS or Walgreens. Basically go get your medicine. The other half is all a bunch of stuff that'll kill you. It's a travesty. And the only way you're going to change it is to impact it. And there's a big movement. We were part of the White House Council on Hunger, Nutrition, and Health. Big celebrities, a lot of stuff. We could get some amazing people to come out. Woodstock could be the epicenter. So Somerville is not going to want to do this. You're going to get some planning board in Somerville. It's not going to want chickens. Oh God, chickens or pigs. And I need them to come to Woodstock, drive out here on their dangerous roads, get out here. But the idea is come see what it is and go, oh, this is what you're talking about. So they can actually see it rather than me waving my hands and showing slides. They go, oh, or see the pigs, which everyone loves the pigs, but they go, oh, they don't smell. Well, no, 20 pigs over an acre, 2 acres don't smell, especially if you're moving them and regenerating the land as you go. And you see the behavior for the pigs, and they're one of the favorites. And the broilers are interesting birds. We use a pioneer breed. That's most chickens grow, they're slow growth. Most chickens go from 1 day to in 5 weeks to go to 6 pounds. It's disgusting. We use the chickens they do. And then what the chicken is when they process it, they inject water in the line. So you get a big fat breast from Purdue or Tyson, but you're getting 2 ounces of water and saline chemicals in. Pasture raised is not done, but you got the birds that they use genetically, they're called jumbo Cornish hens, are genetically bred to basically everything they digest immediately moves to meat. The trouble is they can't move around. So there's striations in the meat.
Did we vote the conversation into the wedding venue instead of his regenerative farming thing and his beliefs on disease and food? because that has nothing to do with what we're talking about here. I think
Point
all
well
the
taken.
good Liberty Road
Point
are
well
here because of
taken.
the wedding venue, not.
Point well taken. The applicant- It's the applicant's time. We'll open it up to the public. Thank you. Thank you.
No, just a closing, and look, I think we have an opportunity. You asked me why I didn't want to. I'm passionate about trying to get this thing done. I feel like if we don't do it, we're gonna lose an opportunity. And I
So I
think,
wasn't suggesting waiting, I was asking you possibly a more modest proposal for the first year might be palatable. Then see how it goes, and then we come back with larger, more ambitious. proposal. Is that something that you?
I think no, not, based upon what I'm saying, I've got 8 people lined up already to do the 8 events. Maybe we'll not have any weddings at all. If I fill the other 4 with event people that, or charitable organizations, if people are interested in what I'm doing, I'd rather fill it that way. I just don't have it. Those are what I have today. And I think, because as I understand it, the, you know, we talk about conditionally, if there's complaints and all that stuff, well, then we'll deal with those. And, you know, even conditional, say, okay, let's see what it is in a year from now, but you're talking about their events, people have no idea. I'm living at 280, we're surrounded by 280 acres of land. All, you know, and which I'm steward of the Wyndham Land Trust land. You're in the middle of nowhere, where, you know, I mean, again, I understand getting there, I get all of it. But, you know, I think from our standpoint, these things are really kind of a hysteria. You know, that's why we provide the facts and the data. And we think that it's 12 events, 35. That's only less than 6% of the number of days. If you take that into consideration, 6%. It's not a significant number out of 365. And that's not to say we're gonna do all, but on a special permit, we were told to put in whatever we thought we would be doing. So if I don't want to exceed it. I would prefer, you know, I want to try to play by the rules, and which is what we're doing. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Any other commissioner? Tim Young?
This is a really good cause, and I might get it. Unfortunately, the really good cause doesn't widen the road, make it safer, and it perhaps doesn't deal with the noise. I don't think noise is that big of a factor. So I think what we need to do is address, you know, what can be done to deal with to make the traffic safe. It's on a blind corner. So, you know, you get people coming the other way, you know, whether it's, you know, you get a event that's gonna be 12 people, 25 people, you're gonna get carpooling. You get a wedding, you're gonna get a husband and wife going together. You know, they're not gonna be taking a whole carload. So bigger events are gonna be more cars times 2. So maybe it's gotta be something, there's gotta be some sort of a, you know, a busing thing, that's done over a certain size. Special permit, talking about events. Maybe more, but a special permit gives you the right to have an event every day. So once you address you give them a special permit, unless you specify the number. Unless we put specifications on this of size or number. It does open.
I thought that's what we were told to do. So we're saying this is what we're doing. We're not saying every day, every million. We're saying this is the maximum we're gonna do. And we would come back, if we change it, we would come back and ask and have to go through another special.
That's why I said we need to have these, you know, specified that there would be so many events. That and sizing it over a certain size, it may have to be some sort of a special traffic. Stipulation.
You really wanted to address that, Tim?
Disagree, I don't think the simple special permit application was doing. The proposal, you specified seeking. If you got approved with this proposal, you couldn't have an event every day.
Okay, so
It would be
so it
limited.
is specifying number.
Yeah.
52 events.
Okay, all right.
No, that's just the extra pool for the board. Yeah, from the,
Those are busted in.
yeah, you get 12 there, 12 there, 48. Okay.
As I understood it, the bus tours during the farm tours were not necessarily required as part of the special. That if someone goes to a farm and you got a bus that goes there to tour around, that would be considered an agricultural activity. You're simply going in for they get on a hay wagon, they do the ride. So, but I'm not an expert in all this, but we just put it in there to be clear, and we said, we'll limit to that. I won't, because I'm sure. So people will say, well, you'll do these every day. No, we won't. We're gonna limit it to 24 bus tours, but those in theory, so we're really looking for 24 events. Maximum that we would do, and 12 of those are really indoor. People here at 25, 35 is the maximum. We didn't want to go over it. I don't want to be saying I'm gonna do 25 and have 35 people in there. I want to be straight. I'm sure I'll get people policing up to come up, then fine. And I don't want to have to say, stop, come up and get your counter out, get your gadget and count. Okay, so I as long as they don't disrupt the event that's going on. It'd be a little rude, but let them count. So I don't want to go over it. So we're probably, most of it would be in the 28 to 24 section, is where I'm imagining inside when we have those. But we wanted to ask for 35 because you can't get that.
Anyone else? Okay, I will open it up to the public. I'd like to remind everyone that all questions and comments are directed at the commission. Wanting finger pointing, I want head nodding, I want everything to hear, not for the applicant. I'll give everybody ample time to speak. Who would like to speak first? State your name.
My name is Kathy Yoakum. I live at 134 Pulpit Rock Road. Ken's been a good neighbor for many years. He's always been open about showing us what he's doing with his farm. I approve everything he's done thus far. There are a couple of comments I have to make that concern me very much. Pulpit Rock Road is a narrow, winding, rutted road that Woodstock town road people do their best in maintaining. At night, it is pitch black. If people come out of Ken's property after having a drink or two, get on that road, even with headlights, it's going to be dangerous. I don't want to see Pulpit Rock paved or with street lights. It's quiet, it's rural. We all do our own thing on that road. We have farmers, we have people who raise vegetables, we have basket weavers, we have God knows whatever else. But it's a rural road. There are houses, but it needs to say rural. We've already got treetop whatever down the road. I don't know if I guess they do serve alcohol, but they have the land devoted to agriculture. If we keep letting people, I'm very much in favor of letting people do what they want with their own land, but we're picking away at what makes our town beautiful and special. We have to preserve it for our children, for other people to enjoy in the future. We don't need weddings, we need farms. And we all should support Ken and all the other farmers in our town who are doing their best to earn a living. I'm very much in favor of farms. I'm not so much in favor of weddings. Let's make the farms the backbone of this town, and not weddings or alcohol or whatever. Our country's fighting these issues already. Let's try and preserve some sanity here in Woodstock.
Thank you for coming. Yes?
Yeah, I got a couple questions. First of all,
Your name,
Don Robinson,
thank you.
if they want to have 12 events, wedding events a year, they're talking about having 75 people with 35 cars. Okay, that's just people coming to the wedding. Well, you need catering people, you need band people, you need people that are directing traffic up in his farm. I live exactly probably 50 feet from his road, right across from his farm in the road. Pulpit Rock Road, there's places that are over 10 feet wide. I don't know where they got a figure of 16 feet, because there's places that are over 10 feet wide. Literally, you can't get 2 cars by. And as far as putting, if you put another, what, maybe 10, 12, 15 extra cars plus 35, you're getting close to 50 traffic. It's a dirt road that gets tore up all the time. It's constantly on top of the municipal vehicles that gotta go up and down it, and your oil light trucks that gotta go up and down it all the time, help tear it up, but just plain traffic tears it up all the time. I've never complained to the town once in my life, never complained over the road or nothing. Kenny Rappaport knows me probably as good as he knows anybody in here. I worked for him for 6 years. He's not a loyal person, and he's not a trustworthy person. I know exactly what he's gonna do. He's gonna say he's gonna have 12 events, and he's gonna have as many as he can fill. A guy that's supposed to have all this money and be a millionaire, why is he worried about wedding events at a farm on a private, historical road? You know, it's ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. I don't know, where to get all the figures. I mean, that sign where you talk to elevation, like you said, it's 800, probably 825 feet, the second highest hill in Woodstock, next to Farmtown Road. I mean, I lived here since 2008 and stuff in that little place that I actually bought off him back in 2008. Like I said, I don't know what he's trying to pull here, what kind of fixing things, but it's all a bunch of indirected. And like I said, I hope the board and other people that agree with me in this place, they don't turn around and go with the type of figures and the stuff, to bring a lawyer in, bring all this stuff. I'm not even 100% positive if you sign and you agree to having 12 events with special events, that legally, in a legal sense, he can't have as many as he wants. He'll say he's only gonna have 12, but that's not gonna happen. I know how he's operated, how many other people he's turned around and does stuff to in this town. It's no good. Thank you.
For coming. Yes.
Hi, I'm Jean Pillow. I live on Smith Road, and it's been a really long time since I've been to one of these planning and zoning public hearings. I just wanted to say I have a history of coming to these planning and zoning meetings, and I was sitting through the whole process when the Nelson Douglas subdivision was being fought because of the impact on Pulpit Rock Road, and Ken was definitely a very vocal dissent voice on that subdivision. When Devon Point Farm wanted to open up their pumpkin farm, they were required to make their driveway access from Joy Road because it was not appropriate to have it from Pulpit Rock Road. And then when Woodstock Country Store wanted to put a store on the end of Pulpit Rock Road, they were also discouraged from doing so, and now they're in a much better location now by the bakery. So it's not unprecedented for people in this town to object to increasing traffic on Pulpit Rock Road. There is a history of this. My question to you, Mr. Chairman, is
once this permit is applied, stays with the land, not with the applicant, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so, what Ken's proposing, will also carry through. For other property owners, once it's no longer in Ken's hands, so it's something to consider, and they may not have the same. Love for our community, and I mean, I absolutely support regenerative farming, but that might not be the next use of that property. And one more thing I wanted to point out was the map and encouraging people to use the Meehan Road as the entry point. I found it kind of comical that Mr. Tebow is holding that map up while he's admitting he took the shortcut up Pulpit Rock Road to go to Ken's property on a regular basis and not going up Meehan Road. So those are my points.
Thank you.
I just had a comment from, I've been the planner for Woodstock since 2006. So I reviewed the application when Devon Point Farm had to get their approval for an activity for the Queen Road. They weren't required to move their driveway to Joy Road. They chose to move it over there on their own. Just we reduced, I actually, this question, sort of for Delia directly. Based off of what Jean just brought up, how the permit stays with the land. And based off of a lot of the specificities that came up tonight of only X number of events that allow X number of patrons at such events, would those details stay with the permit going forward? Yes, whatever the limitations are, such as conditions of the total land. Okay, so that is something that I just wanted to clarify. And from what I heard from Joe, you totaled up, it was what's being proposed right now was 52 events.
48.
48, sorry, I missed the remap. So 48 events, but I do hear you, John, of the request of less so that there can be a review in a year. I hear, putting on my economic development cap, as Mr. Rappaport said, our farms need events occasionally to sustain themselves, often, like, I shouldn't say often. Our farms have sometimes requested events to sustain themselves, to bring in some money to help themselves survive bad years, etc. I think it is very pertinent for P&Z to be very specific going forward, especially we do all have the fear of somebody in the future abusing what gets laid out, but I can say, especially the Economic Development Committee, we want our farms to succeed, and this is one of the ways that success happens in today's world. Agritourism is a great thing. It could be great for our town, and there's just a lot of details to.
Thank you.
Just a question. Can we get a clarification? Because I think the special permit, so that if they were saying, would only be stating 24 events. It's with the 1275s and 1235s. The other bus tours are agricultural, one bus coming up there. Talking to the engineer and my understanding, that's not a special permit part of it. So maybe just so everyone, because they hear 52, they're thinking 52 ways. It's 24. The other bus trips are really educational. Look, I'm not, if you got a bus, and then again, the component here is the educational component. So yeah, it's good for all the people living here. A lot of people value what they can do with their kids, and they're, love letting their kids grow up in a rural environment where they see this. There's just so many people that are involved. And we could be, to me, giving more exposure to experiential learning, seeing there. But to me, I there's some clarification there, which is, what is it? Because to me, it's only 24 events that I'm looking for. The other stuff, I don't think is really part of the special permit, but that's something, I don't know, you can make that decision, or whoever makes that decision.
Today, I believe the Woodstock zoning regulations don't go so far as to discuss or include the term agriculture and have the word agriculture, a 12 state definition. So the zoning regulations have not updated to include anything specifically about.
But a busload of kids is education, that's I don't think that's agriculture. Kids are not paying me money to come off the bus. We do that. Typically, we're not doing it for any cost. If they want a meal, then we provide them a, whatever little lunchbox or whatever else they're getting. But they're in, they're out. That I would ask the board to clarify that, because that way, instead of hysteria saying I've got 50 some events, you really have 24. And that's maximum.
Can I ask the applicant how many events he's had with kids coming up in buses in the past 10 years?
Please, state your name, please, for the record.
For the chair.
Sorry.
Can you ask the applicant how many buses with children he's done for agritourism or agri-education in the past 10 years? He's talking about busloads of kids he's bringing from the inner city. I live on Meehan Road. I've been there for 25 years. I have never seen a school bus or any kind of bus go up that thing in 25 years. I have security cameras around 24 hours a day. All I see is Mr. Rappaport come up with his Texas plate truck to his house back and forth in his Azaluna van. I've never seen anything else other than that, nor have I seen grain trucks go up there. So where are they going from? Where are they going to and from? Is what I'd like to know.
Okay, thank you.
Can you please state your name for the record? 62 Meehan Road.
Can you repeat that so that?
Ian,
Meehan.
no, what was your name?
Peter Christo.
Peter Crystal, thank you.
Mr. Rappaport, in the last 10 years, how many busloads of children have you had at your farm?
Can I just, for this year? This year, over 10 years. Can't. We've only really started doing it larger scale over the last 2 to 3 years. So I believe we probably had about 6 to 7 bus loads of children come up this year.
This year?
Yeah. And so they come up, they've had an absolutely phenomenal time, learned a lot. I mean, we had people asking us to go, but I felt like I wanted to go through this process again. We think it's so important that in the end of the day, I think to get the kids out there. I mean, they're not, someone mentioned inner, I didn't just say inner city. That Elizabeth and
You said Springville, sir. I'm sorry, but I'm holding that. I mean, I'll be here all night.
He has the floor, and I have the floor, and if you raise your hand after I get through everybody else, I'm done. You'll have the floor again. Thank you. Good. We're done, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm sorry,
No, I think they just asked me how to 6 or 7.
6 or 7. Does that answer your question?
It is.
Thank you.
The past 10 years, the past year.
In the past year, he said that the last couple, 3 years is what I recall, is when they've been doing the majority of these tours.
School bus will be filled.
I just wanted to ask a question. I'm not sure if I heard you correctly, Mr. Christo. Is it Christo or Christoph? Christo. So, Mr. Rappaport has said that he's had buses and he's had agricultural vehicles. But you've never noticed them, is that right?
In 24 years, I've never noticed any agricultural vehicles or buses go up that road, other than the school buses that have recently gone up with the new arrivals of 2 additions to our neighborhood, I mean, where they have 4 children and 4 children again, respectively. I've seen school buses come up for that in the past 2 years. Before that, there was never a bus, and there's never been a van type bus or anything that would transport children, vans or bigger vans, or anything walking down that road in 24 years. And I will swear to that. I've been robbed once and I put security cameras on all my house. So I see 24 hours a day what goes up and down that road. And I have never seen anything other than Azaluna vans, his truck with red Tundra, I believe, with Texas license plate on it, that you've had for about 5 years, by the way. And other vans that go for his to bring his stuff up. Refrigerated vans. No school.
No, I'm not sure what the. So if they've been going there and you haven't noticed, then that doesn't sound like that's a problem.
No, they haven't been going, what I'm telling you. I'm retired. I've been retired for the past 5 years. I am home a lot. There's never been any vans or school buses or trucks or grain deliveries to him through Meehan Road that I have seen. And the other thing is, too, I will mention too, is he's telling everyone he's gonna direct it to Meehan Road. Okay? Just aside from a few people that I see here, nobody else on Meehan Road knows what's going on. And we're asking them to absorb this traffic. And we're asking, I've spoken to the first selectman a couple months ago about my concern about the children, and he was quick to get the highway department to put a 15-mile-an-hour zone for children up on Meehan Road, which hasn't stopped anyone. They still zoom by. Mr. Rappaport does the same thing, but it's there. I haven't seen anything. All I see is his Avaluna truck and his refrigerated vans and him. No school trucks, no school bus.
Thank you. Someone in the back had their hand raised earlier. Yes.
So my name is Dennis Manilow. I live on 4 Meehan Road. And same thing what Steve's been saying, I haven't seen any buses, I have cameras. I've been a resident for 45 years in Woodstock. I just heard about this, I'd never come to these things. I'm not looking for traffic on Meehan Road, I live at the top. I don't want cars at 2 o'clock in the mornings, I'm taking off. We got firefighters that probably can't even get up there if there's cars coming down. So I support farming, but not the traffic or wedding venues, so I just want to pass that on.
Thank you for coming. Yes. Your station name for the record, please.
Yes, I'm Karen Riker and I live on 169, not too far from, what is it now, Woodstock Trading Post. I have 2 questions. One of them is it possible to limit a wedding guest list to 75 people, or is that a different number? And the second question is, since it's such a worthy endeavor to try and teach more about community farming and sustainable farming, is it possible that the commission could give a 1 or 2 year permit, see how it works out, see if any of these problems that people are talking about are very real, and then reconsider? Those are my 2 questions.
I will try to address the 75 maximum guests at a wedding. I think that is possible, yes. We send 100 invitations and 75 come back and say yes, or you just send 75, but you know, if it's 75, it's 75. The answer to the second question, that is certainly a possibility. My personal belief is it's added cost and aggravation for the applicant. But that is a possibility that could be looked at. We did ask them at the last public hearing to refine exactly what they wanted to do. And they've come back with a refined, this is what and Mr. Rappaport stated earlier that, you know, he was not willing to budge on that, so. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
I have another question.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to call you. I thought you were somebody else. I've got a couple people online.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I thought you were somebody behind you. I have a couple people online. Lily, Philip, you have your hand raised. Would you like to speak?
Oh, have I been asked to speak?
Yes, Leela, you have your
Oh,
hand raised?
okay. Yeah, thanks. Sorry, and I'll try to do my video as well. I don't know if anyone can see me. Okay, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm actually zooming in from the Hudson Valley, where I actually own a farm. My family's been running a farm here since, not me, but we've owned it since 1732. So, we're going on 16th generation. I'm a passionate farmer. I'm also an environmental reporter and a resident of Woodstock. And I really care about Pulpit Rock Road. In fact, my husband Garth, myself, and a neighbor and Ken Rappaport worked very hard together to put the land that has become the Wyndham Land Trust together. My husband Garth and I put up a lot of money and a lot of time to help gift that land that has become the 280 acres that Ken now stewards as a farm. So I guess I want to say a couple things. I'm, as I said, really passionate about farming, and I know a lot about regenerative agriculture. My apple farm here in the Hudson Valley, we are transitioning to regenerative agriculture. So I'm confused about Ken's application because I just don't think it's in the spirit of agricultural activities to be asking for a permit for a wedding venue. And what I see here in the Hudson Valley is that farming is booming and wedding venues are booming. Both things can be really good for communities. And soft tourism is really a great asset for Woodstock in the future. But the two things are not, they don't mix because they just, agritourism is not a wedding venue. And here in the Hudson Valley, for example, I have friends who have estates that have wedding businesses that they're running to support estates. The noise is incredible. The disruption is incredible. Once you tell someone you're going to have a wedding, you can't start limiting numbers, drinks, anything. It's just the way it is. And so I think for the commission to be talking about it's only going to be 75 people or I will only serve so many drinks is just not realistic. It's just not how that business works. And I think it's important to go back to what the spirit of agritourism is, which is to support farming activities. And I'm really in support of the initial enterprise that Ken set out to do, which was, I thought, to be doing regenerative agriculture. But the way his businesses have grown, the way I've watched them grow toward an Airbnb, toward a restaurant business, toward a food business, food as medicine. It seems all muddled, all kinds of businesses, and this wedding business, these events, seem to be generating money for those businesses, not really for farming activities. And even the term regenerative agriculture has become really muddled. Agriculture is about improving soil, and it's about crop rotation. And when you're raising 8,000 chickens in a small area, that's traditional farming. So I don't even know what these kids are seeing that are showing up at this farm. So I really think I'm confused now about what's going on up there that this wedding business is supposed to be supporting. But I'm also, through my years as an environmental reporter, become very sensitive to the great treasure that we have in Woodstock, which is our wetlands. Our entire country is facing diminishing groundwater supplies, and we in Woodstock, all of northeastern Connecticut, are sitting on an incredible resource of wetlands. Pulpit Rock Road is lined with fragile wetlands, and our very fragile dirt road is now polluting those wetlands increasingly because of road traffic. one of the things that I'm reading about and learning about is the growing awareness of tire pollution, throwing off PFAS or forever chemicals into wetlands. And while the rest of the country is now making heroic efforts to save wetlands and preserve them because they're going to be economically so valuable, I think Woodstock should do a stop, look, and listen and make sure we aren't polluting our wetlands by doing things like increasing traffic in very fragile environmental systems like places along Public Rock Road. And then as a resident, I'm incredibly concerned about safety. So I live on the west end of Pulpit Rock Road. So this is exactly where everybody puts their GPS in. And on the Taylor Brook end of the road where it meets 171, they come zooming in. And I don't know where anybody got the idea that people who don't know the road drive slower, because in my experience, living on the road for over 20 years, people who live there drive slower. They know to give way. They know where the blind curves are. They know that it's only 10 feet wide in places. They know where the washout is. People who don't know, who are from out of town, put it in their GPS. They go 30, 40 miles an hour, and it's incredibly hazardous. I have had so many near accidents, even just coming out my drive. And my drive is right at the top of a hill, and I have almost been hit just in the 10 weeks of the Christmas tree season this year, particularly, about 3 times, because people come up, they don't see you, and I've just, you know, it's incredibly hazardous now. We had 5 inches of rain several weeks ago when we lost power, and the road was a complete washout. So there's the safety issue of the road, which is an incredible concern. School buses are not allowed to go on Pulpit Rock Road. So I don't understand why we're talking about bringing school kids in vans up a road that the town already doesn't allow school buses on. It just doesn't make sense. I applaud the educational impulse of what Ken is doing. But I also think that Ken has other locations where he could do this. All these different hub and spike locations and business places, there's surely other venues where he could do that. In fact, I think the animals are in other locations. What's at his property on Pulpit Rock Road is a house and the Airbnb mostly, and his business headquarters. So I mean, I understand why he wants to have wedding events there, but I don't think that's the educational center anyway. And then finally, about things like the music. Woodstock is a drumlin field. If you look on the old map that's in the town hall, it's a black polka dot of hills, and sound travels down and up, and we're on the next hill over, and so are other neighbors. So we hear everything, and so do most other neighbors, and it's amplified by water, which is in all those wetlands. So I think you can't just do those little graphs and do the numbers on charts. You need to actually go to the site and realize that sound really travels in our neighborhood. And maybe Ken hasn't heard complaints because people have just given up. He has not been a good neighbor. Those dogs that bark all night have driven everyone to distraction. I know a lot about those dogs, and they're just not the right solution for guarding the livestock in a crowded, almost suburban situation. They need to be in a more isolated situation where they're not woken up all night by car doors and people. Those poor dogs aren't barking all night because of predators. They're barking all night because they hear people. And I could go on, but it's just been a constant struggle. And I asked the commission to do a couple of things. Think very carefully about the great resource that Pulpit Rock Road is to the community going forward. Think please about safety. This is not about being anti-farming or anti-business. This is just about location. And think about agriculture, because we don't have a definition in this town of what agricultural activities are. Most towns, like in the Hudson Valley, they have a clear definition of what agritourism is, what activities go under that umbrella. We haven't done that work here yet. And to give permits for anything that supports a farm without thinking about how the implications of that going forward so that you can have a wedding event and call it agritourism, really, I think in the long run is going to become very problematic because anyone with 2 acres in this town can pretty quickly become a farm. It's not a high bar. And then where will we be? So I think there are other implications for P&Z to take stock and do a stop, look, and listen here, primarily because of the safety of the road. Please do a site walk. Please talk to the fire department about the safety concerns on the road and do an environmental study about the wetlands along the road. Consult with the Conservation Commission, and you will see there's a lot of new research about the fragility of the wetlands, about the pollution coming from traffic that has come out in the last 6 months. And we don't want to be behind that curve because these wetlands are going to be incredibly valuable for us. Thank you. And thank you for your service, all of you on the Planning and Zoning Committee. It's really important work.
Thank you.
Here.
Mr. Dunlea, like to speak, could you hand raise?
Good evening, folks. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm speaking for both myself, Jim Dunley, and my wife, Chang Lee. We would be there tonight in person. Unfortunately, our entire household is down with COVID, and I'll try to get through this quickly without having a coughing attack. The value proposition in Woodstock for us is what Woodstock is, not what Woodstock isn't. We have the means to vote with our feet and go where we may want. We looked for years where we wanted to raise our family in a rural agricultural community, and we settled on Woodstock. We could have stayed on Marco Island, Florida, raised our children there. People ask, why the heck would you jump Marco Island and come to Woodstock? It's because, again, we are in Woodstock for what it isn't, not what it is. We want the rural community, the rural ambiance. We want to listen to the wind at night, go through the trees. We don't want to hear the quaff of my Macarena or electric slide. And I can tell you on Pulpit Rock Road, where we live, the Woodstock Inn is well over a mile as the crow flies. And every weekend we have to listen to my Macarena and electric slide ad nauseum. So the fact that some residents are going to be 700 feet away is incredulous to suspect that they would not be impacted by the noise of this. Again, the future of Woodstock is not, as Lilia rightfully pointed out, that anybody that has 2 acres of land comes up with some flimsy excuse and relates any business activity to agribusiness. It's based on our open spaces. We're adamant about open spaces. We bought our place to keep the spaces open. Again, that's just us. That's why we moved here. But I think we speak for a lot of people in this room that 11 p.m. at night when the music stops, hey, I got to work each day and I have very long days. And then I have a property to maintain that's over 50 acres, which we donate the hay to local farmers. And when I get a chance to rest finally at 7 o'clock on a Saturday night and have a nice cold lemonade, I don't want to be listening to my Macarena wafting over the hillside to me. I'm sorry. The other thing is that we had talked about 48 down to 24 events, taking out the bus tours. So if it's 24 events, one has to suspect that those events are going to happen in the prime weather seasons. So we don't have 24 good weeks of summer weather here. So that means every weekend there's going to be something going on. Why should us neighbors be subjected to that every weekend? I'm right on with people that they should enjoy full value and privilege to their property. And heck, I don't care if you want to dance in the buff and howl at the moon. But your right and full privilege ends at your property line, where my right and full privilege is to not to hear your music, see your light pollution, destroy my evening sky, obsolete the telescopes that I've invested in, defeated the whole reason I moved to Woodstock when I could have chosen almost any place in the United States. That's the value proposition of Woodstock. And I think that's the type of people you want to attract to Woodstock. Since we've moved here, I've come active in the community. I've joined the fire department, invested significant amount of times to go through fire training and become state and federally certified firefighter. And I would like to think that these are the type of people you want to attract and retain in your town. Woodstock should not be destined by death of 1,000 paper cups to become just another nameless town. I have more to say, but I'll end it there because I can feel a coughing fit coming on. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your comments. I hope you feel better. Hope your family feels better. Appreciate your participation. For anyone else that hasn't spoken yet, yes.
Gary Reno, Meehan Road. I just have a general question. In issuing a permit like this with there be a limited number of events, do we know how that would be enforced? Any idea who might enforce that?
I'll let our town planner answer that.
If the commission were to approve it, they could place a condition referencing how to do that. The zoning enforcement officer would have to enforce.
Who is our zoning enforcement agent?
Right now, it's Tish Planning and Policy Group. Run by model.
An elected or appointed position?
An employee who's appointed.
For anyone else that hasn't spoken yet, like to speak? Yes,
Norma Jean Montes, Pelton Rock Road.
thank you for coming.
Thank you for your work. I'm not gonna be as eloquent as Leela and Jim Dunlea. Hi, Jim, never met you before, so nice to meet you. I feel very strongly, as I've said before, but I don't think I could say it enough. Scenic roads are an important way for our town to help protect and preserve the way of life we all love. And Pulver Rock Road was one of the first scenic roads. I understand from others that it was the first. And it is amazingly beautiful. It really is. I studied geology in college, and to find out I actually live in a drumlin field blew my mind when I moved here. I really didn't know what I saw on a topographic map in a course actually was in Connecticut, and I was moving into it. The road is curvy, and it is has different grades because of the drumlins. And if you think about the history, that was a walkway for Native Americans, right? And they, it was probably a towpath that grew into, where the horses kind of naturally went. It really is the best way to navigate the road, just to be on the road. But unfortunately, it really isn't a great place for cars. And it's been said before, but I must tell you, I walk the road almost every single day. Everybody on Meehan Road and Pulver Rock Road know this. They know my dogs. So I'm always walking them. I know sight lines, and I know where they're not. And I would say that 0.25 section that is being proposed to be the access to events is the worst place. Because after you go to the rise on what's called Roxbury Hill, that's a drumlin, and you go down a little bit to approach the next drumlin, which is really where Ken lives, that's almost the sharpest rise, as well as a blind curve. There's been several times I've been in walking with my dogs, as well as in cars, that I've been in a dangerous situation. This is unavoidable. It's just part of the road, okay? It cannot be changed. And it's difficult to maintain. It's difficult I think about it all the time. Like, how do you make this better? How do you make it safer? I like Leela's suggestion to have
the commissioners take a walk. Because then you start to get a sense for what this really is like. It's so amazingly wonderful, but it's so incredibly frightening. It's a safety problem. It just is what it is. And I'm only talking about a very small section. I'm not talking about the other parts. But I need you to understand that. It is a preserved road. The ordinance is in place to preserve it. And we will destroy it if we allow a business to begin that has a predictable amount of traffic. I know the traffic has increased over the last 25 years. I've seen it happen. I'm gonna say something that's not gonna sound very nice, but it's true. It's also been widened. The ordinance says the road should not be widened. In some cases, I think it was done so inadvertently by our highway department. I think there's been some things that have happened on the road that has caused the road to widen. It's nature, but we're not taking care of it. We need to think about, and I challenge this committee to think about it. How can we remedy the destruction that has happened anyway due to climate change? Like, how can we do better? How can we replant or replace? How can we do a more sensitive job of maintaining that road rather than using the heavy equipment we do? And if I can bring it back to really the issue at hand is, it's about the neighborhood and it's about caring for the road. Events, to me, don't align with agritourism. And I don't think that this road will survive if we allow any events at all. The road will break down. It will become even more unsafe. There will be more accidents. Some will be very, very terrible, as alcohol will be served. And there is no way that I can see right now, unless there's regulations, and I think you can do it. I do believe that this commission can do it. It's gonna take time, it's gonna take a lot of people and effort with knowledge. But we have to think ahead and how we're gonna preserve this for the future, for the safety of everyone that travels that road. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
That's my own purpose. I'm good. Oh. All right.
Yes, yeah. We continue in public hearing until next month. We have a couple of things. The next meeting then. We have a couple of pressing number of things to take care of. We have to get to 10 o'clock. Curfew, so. Like we certainly throwing out the other kind of quick. Second. Motion by Tim Young, second by Tim Wu. Continue the public hearing until January 18th at 7:45.
Yeah.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? We will pick this back up again on January 18th. I saw your hand raised in the back. I just put a quick question. I don't know. We can't take any more information on the public hearing regarding the public hearing is closed. No, it's temporarily for tonight. So if it's something not pertaining to the public hearing, I'll entertain it.
Just at what point did the committee make a decision? After that meeting or another meeting?
Possibly, yes.
Okay, it'd be up to one of the members to ask for a vote, is that it?
Someone make a motion to approve or deny.
So we would have to
But
make a
that
motion.
is our next agenda. We're gonna skip over that.
Okay, that's fine.
Right. Thank you everyone for coming to the public hearing.
Thank you all. You didn't forget to do your work.
Can we make it before the second round? Can't be perfect. Right, moving along, we're moving along. I'll bring this to. Agenda item. Six, the old business, which we're not gonna take care of, which is, we'll start with the challenge. Moving on to agenda item 7, new business, we already took care of the Woodstock Academy, modification. Public hearing, we schedule that. Agenda item 7B. Grant number 356-63-05M, David and Terry Mullen, 135 and 145, Karen Road. Subdivision modification, boundary line adjustment. Now, open it up to the applicant, or the applicant's representative.
Good evening. For the record, Paul Archer with Archer Surveying, representing David and Carrie Mullen. David Mullen is in attendance with us. And I'll pass out a couple. I don't know if they all have the map or. Yeah, you do have all the maps? Yeah. Okay. Then I'll go over real quickly. It's, what we're here for is a boundary line modification. The subdivision was approved by this commission back in 1993. Which created 2 lots, one a 5.5 acre lot, one in a 20-some acre lot, okay? What we're looking to do, basically, the 2 lots were owned by the Mullenses. So one of them is a farm, one of them was a house. What they would like to do is do a boundary line adjustment on the 5.5 acres, adding 2 acres to the farm, which is basically, it's a field in the back where it is. So they would like to attach the field to the 20 acres. Both lots now meet your minimal acreage. Health department has been approved. We've got comments back. There was no comments from the planner that looked at it, the NECOG planner. He looked at it and didn't have any concern. So that's basically it in a nutshell. We're just looking to modify the 5.5 acre lot, basically. Let's see if you put the map up. Good point. Forgot. So if everybody has it, I have a bigger picture too, unless anybody has any real questions to it. But basically, if you look here, here's the 20 acres, here's the 5 acres. We're just cutting basically the 5 acres in half. Yep. Trying to make the 10 o'clock curfew.
I'll open it up to Commissioner.
On your site plan, I see the chicken coop. Is that the smaller rectangle and the larger rectangle septic system?
Correct. This chicken coop sits on top of the septic system.
Thank you.
You want a bigger copy?
I was trying to read.
You want a bigger copy?
No, well, I got a magnifying glass, I can read, right?
I got bigger ones. Oh, no, I got 'em.
These maps are really hard.
Especially when you get old.
They're highlighted with a.
I got great highlights too.
Mostly I wanted to check with Celia about the description, this parcel A, the interesting wording on it. It says parcel to become an undivided portion of lot 05-1, and is not to be considered a separate building. I mean, what does not to be considered a separate building really mean?
It's not subdividing it, it's taking it off of the rear part of that portion, merging it over to the lot to the left.
So 10 years from now and a new CEO, okay, they won't have any question about it? But this has come up in the past.
Supposed to be merged.
Notes on land.
Not independent of it.
Unless there's an application to re-subdivide this or whatever.
If they choose to do that in the future, that's not this proposal.
I understand.
This lot is. How the camera was. Having it, this lot is 05-1, so that shaded area. Will become part of.
Yes.
05-1
Right.
is no longer part of. One B. Doesn't have property, it cannot be. a lot of business.
And plus that land that we're dividing off does not meet your zoning requirements. So it could not possibly be a building lot because it has no technical road frontage.
Okay.
Joe, I think what you're getting at is, doesn't mean it's forever unbuildable. Somebody, some future owner could come in, slice this up differently and include that and just fix something.
Exactly.
Right, so at
That-
that point, whatever, then they would have to follow those. rules. We don't know
Correct.
what they would be, and we don't know if we propose that, so what we should make a decision on what we propose today.
But sometimes it's important to have language clear enough, for somebody else future to look at. I just wanted to make sure you were comfortable with the language.
Seems very clear to me.
Okay. That was the only question. Anyone else? I'd like to move to approve it.
I'll second. Motion by Tim Young, second by Floyd Ryan, to the previous committee. On adjustment. Any discussion?
But have all the fees or whatever documentation and application package or.
I don't have a fee, so if you got a fee, then. $250.
They paid it.
We paid.
Usually they don't accept the application without the fee being paid.
Thanks.
No, Joe. Sometimes at night it's really quiet. I hear. I already know the answer, but I'm gonna ask it again for the record.
There's that little echo.
It's gonna be really quiet.
Okay, it's too high.
No, you gotta get higher to hear.
I'm only like 6:30. It flows downhill. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Aye. Thank you.
That's so, thank you.
That you would, this was at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, oh, I was hoping you would have put that one in when you went to the Woodstock.
It's been 7:43 in order. That brings us to agenda item 7C. SP 661-01-24. Dario Seal Paco. Sorry if I butchered it. 170 Jordan Road, activity on a scenic road for driveway relocation. And we simply need to schedule a public hearing for that.
I'm good. Make a motion to schedule a public hearing for February 15th.
Oh, okay.
Second.
Yeah.
Motion by Joseph Aguilera, seconded by Timothy Young, to have a public hearing on this item February 15th at 7:45 p.m. Well, we've got having on it. Right. Yeah. I assume this would be a short one. Yeah, hopefully. I'm not so sure.
I don't think this one's gonna be sustainable.
Is there any discussion?
Oh, no, you have to post it.
So for the scenic road, I have to do 2 legal notices according to statutory deadline. I also have to notice everyone who owns started the road. And elected and fire.
So we still need the 15th, or you think that they need it later?
No, the best one.
Yeah, I was thinking too, Joe. We actually have like 45 days now.
Just gives you the January.
But unfortunately, we're only on the 4th of January. So, just one point, noticing the landowners on Shore Road, is that only the scenic portion or just scenic portion? Yeah, all right. Any other discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. Is there any opposed? Agenda item 7D, proposed text amendment subdivision regulation, application review decision and post process. Section 2B, application notice requirement. I'll let you speak to this.
So keeping my attention with one of the different applications. It wasn't entirely clear whether it had to do the abutter notice. Or doing the discussion. And you should have a copy of. Post B, or, you know, we discuss it. You want to discuss it more, or you have the date in here. Date of the hearing. Well, really, you shouldn't have it debatable. Because they don't do it because it doesn't technically apply to them, and then becoming an issue during an application. What it currently says is the applicant shall notify all owners of property abutting the site of subdivision. So when you're doing a modification, that's not a subdivision. And it's not a re-subdivision. So, from clear to the pipe, I think it should be made clear. We referred to the outdated title of the.
That was the blue text, is the new text that you're proposing.
Right. The other thing is, in the past, when we changed this, I made a mistake. And it should say, you can do the notice of certificate of moment, not for. Well, now. And then. Put certificate at the bottom, about to pick out. So it should be made.
This looked good to me, and the addition makes sense to include all the other re-subdivision or modification. I just suggested that second to last line, or the last sentence, evidence of such notification in the form of, and certificate of mail, same as show above. Certificate of mailing. Use a capital C. or capital M. Consistent.
So if you wanted to say the public hearing, it can't be in January, you have to do the, you know, it's ridiculous, the notice, take that, so it's on there. Because the company government.
This is a commission driven change. So if we say, let's schedule a public hearing for March, we can put up February, public hearing schedule is looking like,
That'd be fine.
we could do March instead of date for March. I don't expect much discussion, but thinking about the agenda for February.
That's the correct legal terminology for certified mail. I always call it certified mail.
Well, certified mail is much more expensive than certificate of mail.
Oh, it is.
Right.
So it's
Certified mail-
different than certified mail.
The certified mail has the green postcard.
Yes.
The green and white silver paper, and it costs somewhere around $7 to $9. How that replica is. Certificate of mail doesn't prove that they received it, it proves that they mailed it. So you write their address, and then the post office stamps it for you, that you sent it that way.
Was not aware that there were two different procedures. Thank you.
I would make a motion to present this, to public hearing on March, the Thursday meeting of March 21, or we could discuss it at any other meeting, prior to the public hearing.
Sorry, I'm just checking my calendar, thank goodness.
I thought you were reading email.
Well, I am, but I have to go. Airplane, like, I'd rather not do. So I was hoping to get out of it. Compete. I made the motion, who's second?
You need a note from the commission, yourself be here to run this meeting.
Joe Adamada made the motion, seconded by you.
We're gonna set the public hearing for the proposed text amendment to March 21st at 7:45. Motion by Joe Adamada, second by Tim Young. No, Dean Gould, sorry, Dean. Well, thanks. Great discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That so passes, thank you. Let's quickly look at the home occupation permit review, agenda item E-A-O and Haley 2, 23 Hensley Court.
It looked like a good way to answer all the questions except number 5. Which either was not later or the vehicles are part of the business itself as opposed to customers or clients coming. Because the home occupation pretty clearly states no more than.
I spoke to John Gowski about the applicant was ready. And he's just running a home improvement business from his house. He wasn't doing any of the improvements at the time. He just does the business side of it. And he- he has employees that want,
So that really could have been, so,
I don't know, we have no zero employees, but like many other contractors. were.
They're probably just covering for different vehicles.
He was very good about the application.
well, then if the answer is yes, more than 4 parking spaces, then it's not a home occupation. The home occupation requirement as it currently stands states no more than 4 parking spaces, which is why we want to have it. Well, that's been a question that's been a
Well, you can ask John Kowski about it. I believe it was still an application reviewed by the zoning officer. You guys just wanted to look at it. If you have a question, you can let me know what the question is and send it to him or to
Okay, well, the question would be if there are more than 4 vehicles that recognize as being not suitable for a home occupation. And if there's a, difficulty in filling it out, you should know what the challenge was. Or that could be-
Well, I wonder if he's putting in there, maybe he's got, family vehicles and then town, just business vehicles or something.
Yeah, that'd be nice to know.
Yes.
If we say yes to this home occupation permit, we said they have more than 4 vehicles. That's kind of. Particularly.
Just a question if, there were 5 vehicles parked there, 2 were personal vehicles and 3 are related to business, they were vans that went out, did home improvement. Is that violation?
No, because the personal vehicle.
So they're not counted, so there could be 6 vehicles parked there, only 4 of them private.
because it does say they'll. It's not written like standard, it's a question, but what would be more than dedicated to the state. So it doesn't even come in for participation.
The language on the form opposed to your language.
Right, this isn't written as a standard, it's a question. You can go back to the.
That's already.
Excuse me,
Yes, David.
I speak, I'm having trouble hearing all you guys, but why is that question even in there if they're only allowed 4 spaces? It doesn't make sense. They're only supposed to have 4 parking spaces dedicated for the property, for the home occupation. That shouldn't even be a question, that should be a statement. There will only be 4 parking spaces dedicated for the use. And the other thing I noted was that it says, one place says there's not going to be producing anything there, and in question 11, he says articles for sale were produced in the home. But I mean, it's a home improvement company, so I don't know if he just missed the question or it's confusing to me. That's it.
You guys had wanted your form, I thought it was pretty clear, the previous form, but you guys wanted to provide this was the permission. It was written the way, and I didn't do it, but we have what the previous zoning officer. But if you want to change again, you can do that.
Yeah.
I crafted an email to the, and I said that the commission is wondering about how many vehicles we park in question 5. Are they going to have more than 4 parking spaces dedicated to business, not including the personal use? Should be a question mark. Probably a run-on, well. Can you please clarify? Thanks.
Anything else you want to add, or just to say that the regulations state this is for superintendent, no more than 4 client or customer parking spaces are available for the use or activity. So
I'll add that.
it is perfect. That's-
Item 14, this is asked how many people, service-related vehicles will be used. And there's just a check mark, there's no actual number.
Yeah, right, and maybe it doesn't.
So there are two issues. The guy needs to fill this out correctly. A,
Right.
B, the form needs to be clarified. So are the number 5 should read, will there be more than 4 parking spaces dedicated to client? To client.
Customer or customer or client parking.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So I added that in the regulation. The, no more than 4 parking spaces. Thank you. I will send the result to Delia. Delia can blind copy everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, Colin?
Yeah, so, it's not the right place. This address is one of those 2 multifamily buildings on Holmesley inside the loop. And I'm just seeing what's written in bold towards the bottom. I agree that the above information is accurate, and I attest that I am the owner of Rosado residence, which home occupation takes place.
Well, I think that someone else owns it, but I believe the regulations, I didn't write this form, but the regulations allow you to have a home business as long as you have the permission.
Good.
So I don't know why it's written that way. Right this way, they need that. Shouldn't be prohibited from having. And you have the permission, then you have to meet the regulations. Why shouldn't
I agree with you 100%. I was just looking at the wording, and it is a rental unit. Who should be signing this? The applicant or the owner of the property? Since he or she's ultimately responsible.
should be the business owner and who should be the resident.
Okay.
Right.
So that's another item.
Well, I think it may go to a longer discussion for home occupation, why this was revised at the beginning, because we're trying to get a sense of what a home occupation really is versus a retail store that you run in your garage.
But it wouldn't hurt to have, if
Oh, yeah.
land is rented, at least a signature of a rightful owner. Stating possession. And if it is there, John has it.
You don't drive a man.
Yeah. Got to split.
All right, so I'll wait for the ink for that. Forward to Delia, Delia can blind copy. Chairman, do we have to make a motion to extend curfew? No. Need that. Street light bill, my mom's gonna be there. I'm just gonna skip the citizen comments unless there's any objection. And I just wanna add that Tracy asked that everybody send her your proper mailing address, whether it be Woodstock Valley, Woodstock, South Woodstock. Evidently the post office is not we are having issues with the post office, it says, so. Claim the addresses that they are receiving are not accurate. So you may not get your packet if that's going by mail.
I have a form I could send out, you could just. Or you could just email me your address, because I need your correct address to.
Did you say you were skipping to the blue counties or skipping to? Yeah, I'm skipping to. Might want to go grab them. No, they want. Are there any other citizens' comments? I will do adjourn. I don't think there's any correspondence. Who's second? I did. Motion to adjourn by Tim Young, seconded by Dean Wu. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I have 10:15 p.m. Thank you, Dean. Yeah. We don't. Yeah. I kind of felt bad. All right. What? They wanted. It was sort of like, yeah, it was a mic drop. Yeah. Very long. But you're gonna have.
So mad that when they approved that.
Who do I notify?
You can just send me an email or. Thanks.
Oh my God.
So thanks for getting back to me about the continuing ed stuff. Yep. You want the Paul Archer's plan for stop the video off? You stop the video.
Let's go to end.